The evening sun dipped low behind the rice fields, casting an amber glow over the small Filipino village where the boy lived. His house was nothing more than bamboo walls and a rusted tin roof, yet inside it carried the warmth of a family that survived on love rather than wealth. Sitting on a wooden stool outside, the boy held a guitar that had seen better days. Its strings were mismatched, the wood chipped, but when his fingers touched it, the instrument came alive. Music was not just a pastime for him, it was a lifeline, a way to forget the growl of his stomach and the endless struggle of poverty. He strummed softly, his voice rising in a melody that floated through the humid air, drawing curious glances from neighbors passing by. Some would pause, smile, and whisper, "That boy will go far one day." He didn't fully believe them, yet deep in his heart he carried a burning dream. His mother stepped out, wiping her hands on her faded apron. She looked at him with tired eyes but a proud smile. "Anak, you will sing on a big stage one day," she whispered, crouching beside him. The boy nodded, though a lump formed in his throat. The thought of leaving the village, of standing under bright lights with people listening, felt almost impossible. Yet when he closed his eyes, he could see it, a massive stage, a roaring crowd, judges staring in awe as his voice filled the room. He strummed again, this time with more force, and sang louder, letting his voice echo into the night. He didn't care that his shirt was torn, or that tomorrow he would have to help his mother sell vegetables in the market. In that moment, music made him rich, music made him powerful, music made him free. As the crickets began their nightly chorus, he clutched his guitar tightly and whispered a promise to himself: no matter how far, no matter how hard, he would chase that dream. Somewhere beyond the fields and the mountains, the world was waiting to hear his song. The boy's footsteps echoed softly against the polished floor as he entered the grand stage of America's Got Talent. The moment felt unreal, almost like a dream he had imagined 1,000 times under the dim light of his small home in the Philippines. Now, it was real, the stage lights were blinding, shimmering like stars in every direction, and the audience stretched endlessly before him. His heart pounded so loudly he thought the microphone might pick it up. He gripped it with trembling hands, staring out at a sea of faces he had never seen, yet who were all waiting for him to prove he belonged there. Simon Cowell sat in his chair with his usual sharp gaze, eyebrows raised in curiosity. Beside him, Heidi Klum leaned forward with a warm smile, Sofia Vergara gave an encouraging nod, and Howie Mandel waved playfully as if to ease the boy's nerves. He swallowed hard, his throat dry, but somehow their small gestures gave him the strength to breathe. For a moment he remembered his mother's words, whispered in their tiny kitchen back home: "Anak, sing with your heart, and the world will listen." The host gave him a reassuring pat on the shoulder before stepping aside. The boy took a shaky breath and introduced himself. His voice cracked slightly as he said, "My name is Miguel. I came all the way from the Philippines." The crowd erupted in applause, and he felt a wave of energy rush through him. He smiled nervously, wiping his sweaty palms on his faded jeans, and continued, "I want to sing because it's my dream, and I want to make my family proud." The theater fell silent, waiting. Simon gave a small nod, signaling the music to begin. Miguel closed his eyes for a second, letting the silence settle deep inside him, then lifted his head to face the lights. This was the moment he had prayed for, the moment he had promised himself so many nights ago. The guitar intro of Hotel California started to play softly in the background, and with his first breath, he knew there was no turning back, his dream was about to take flight. The first chords of Hotel California drifted through the theater, and the boy gripped the microphone tighter, willing his voice to be steady. As the music swelled, he opened his mouth, and the first note slipped out, soft, trembling, but rich with emotion. The sound carried across the vast room like a whisper from his soul, silencing the restless audience. His voice gained strength with each line, weaving between the lyrics with a haunting beauty that no one expected from such a small, shy figure. The depth in his tone spoke of hardship and longing, every note dripping with stories of hunger, struggle, and hope. Simon leaned forward in his chair, his usual stoic expression softening, eyes narrowing in disbelief at what he was hearing. Heidi pressed her hands to her heart, her lips parting as tears welled in her eyes. Sophia tilted her head, visibly touched, while Howie sat frozen, staring at the boy as if he were watching history unfold. In the audience, a woman wiped her cheeks, another clutched her chest, and many simply sat in stunned silence, unable to move. As the chorus rang out, the boy lifted his gaze to the ceiling, pouring every ounce of his being into the song. His voice grew stronger, soaring, filling the entire theater with a raw power that defied his fragile frame. Each lyric became a cry from the depths of his soul, echoing with pain but also shimmering with hope. The haunting melody wrapped around every listener, pulling them into his world, a world where a poor boy from the Philippines could stand tall and make thousands of strangers feel something profound. The final verse came, and the boy's voice cracked slightly with emotion, but he held on, pushing through, his body trembling under the weight of the moment. When the last note floated into silence, the entire theater erupted. People leapt to their feet in a standing ovation, clapping, cheering, shouting his name. The boy stood frozen, chest heaving, tears streaming down his face, unable to believe that this dream, once whispered into the night back home, was now unfolding under the brightest lights of the world. The theater exploded with applause, cheers echoing like thunder as the boy stood frozen on stage, his small frame trembling under the roar of thousands. Tears blurred his vision, but through the golden haze of stage lights he could see the judges rising to their feet. Heidi clapped with her hands high above her head, her eyes shimmering with emotion. Sophia turned to the crowd, shouting, "Incredible," while Howie pounded the desk in excitement, grinning ear to ear. But it was Simon, stoic, often critical Simon, who leaned back in his chair, his eyes fixed on the boy with an expression few had ever seen before, awe mixed with pride. The boy lowered the microphone slowly, chest rising and falling with each shaky breath. He tried to smile, but the lump in his throat made it impossible. He had come all this way with nothing but his voice and a dream, and now the world was standing for him. His knees weakened as the applause grew louder, echoing like a wave crashing against him. He whispered under his breath, "Mama. I did it." And then it happened. Simon, never breaking eye contact, stood and reached out his hand toward the golden buzzer. The audience gasped collectively, realizing what was about to happen. The boy's eyes widened, his heart pounding so violently he thought it might burst. Simon pressed his palm flat, then slammed it down with force. The sound of the buzzer blared, and in an instant, golden confetti rained from the ceiling, glittering under the lights like falling stars. The boy's hands flew to his face as he collapsed to his knees, sobbing uncontrollably, overwhelmed by joy he had never known before. The judges rushed forward, Simon leading the way, placing a reassuring hand on the boy's shoulder. Heidi bent down to hug him tightly, whispering, "You're a star." Sophia wiped her own tears, and Howie knelt, pointing to the boy and shouting to the crowd, "This is what dreams are made of." The theater shook with chants of his name, and in that breathtaking moment, the boy was no longer just a poor child from a faraway village, he was a symbol of hope, courage, and the boundless power of chasing a dream. Backstage, the boy sat on a simple couch, his hands still clutching handfuls of golden confetti as though letting go might make the moment disappear. His cheeks were wet, but his smile stretched wider than ever before. The buzzing in his ears from the applause still lingered, like a sweet echo he never wanted to fade. A staff member handed him a bottle of water, but he barely noticed. His mind was replaying every second on stage, from the trembling first note to the moment the golden rain fell over him. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his small phone. With shaking fingers, he called home. The screen flickered, and suddenly his mother appeared, her face tired yet glowing with pride. Behind her, the bamboo walls of their modest home were visible. "Anak," she whispered, her voice breaking, "you did it." Tears streamed down both their faces as he held up the confetti to show her proof of the miracle. "I sang for you, Mama," he said softly. She smiled, nodding, unable to speak through her sobs. At that moment, he knew this was not just his victory, it was theirs. The world had finally heard his voice, and his journey had only just begun.